Welcome to the Effects Loop. I'm Diaz.
I'm Marissa.
I'm Chris.
I'm Scott.
And we are keeping you in the loop of the guitar community. Alright, this episode is brought to you by Stringjoy.
Yeah, Stringjoy is coming on board and partnering us, so you're going to be hearing a bit more about them soon. They offer custom sets of strings with pretty much meeting any need you can think of. But also they have a lot of standard size sets as well. Reach out to them at stringjoy.com. Check out their product range, and we're looking forward to working with them. Diaz, I think you just got a new set, didn't you?
I got a set of what their like pre-packaged set. It wasn't a custom set, but it's a mediums. I was talking to them about I have some strings on my SG that the tension isn't really high enough to keep my Maestro bridge up. So Scott over there hooked me up. He handed me a set. He said, "Here, let's try these out." So we're still at NAMM. If you can't tell by the crickets and dogs, we're actually recording on our back porch of our Airbnb. So I'm gonna go home, put those on, and next week I'll have a review of them.
Yeah, probably within the next week or so. I'm going to be checking out some of their half-size sets.
Yeah. That's pretty neat.
I've been wanting some more tension a little bit on my Jazzmaster, so I normally run 10s. I think we're going to try a 10.5, but Scott and I were like, all right, we're too busy, we're too hoarse. Let's talk about this week and kind of figure something out. So,
God bless email.
Yeah, what's cool about them, they work with you. They want to hear what you're using and get you with the best things.
So one of the really cool things already that we've talked about is Chris did it before they were a sponsor, was
about
consultation.
What, a year and a half ago probably? Mm-hmm. Like right after the last NAMM maybe 2 years ago.
So I know Scott, I told Scott, I said, I was like, I don't want to email you and like bug you and talk to you. He's like, no, that's what we do.
Yeah.
So like that's the thing. Like, don't feel like you're a bother. Like, email them. They want to get you the strings that will work for you, which is really awesome.
So do I need to start going by Hamilton if we start including him more?
Yeah.
We're bad enough with the acronyms for new listeners already.
We were in our group message on Messenger, and I was like, I'm over here with Scott, and I was messaging Scott, and like I'm sure people were like, if anyone was to read it, they're like, wait, what is going on? Scott, you want to meet me with Scott? And it's but I don't know. We could start calling you Hamilton, but then Nick Hamilton might be stealing. You know what? We're just gonna like have to come up with like a cool nickname like Shotgun.
No, that's taken.
So we're gonna kind of like recap what happened at NAMM. We had a crazy 3 days. A lot happened.
I'm so tired.
Oh, there was a lot in a very short amount of time. So there's a few new people to NAMM this year, and they're like, what should I do? I was just like, try to make a plan and try to stick to it, but don't be upset if you don't. Because you go in with a plan, and Scott and I on the first day were like, we did a quick walkthrough because Chris and Marissa got there a little bit later, and we're just like, okay, we're going to walk through, we're going to see what looks cool, and then we're going to set up what we want to do. And we did that, and that kind of worked. I think we hit pretty much everything we wanted to talk to.
Pretty much. I mean, Saturday was the me day, and that was when I started exploring kind of stuff we're not going to generate any content for.
Well, for me, it was literally the me day.
Yeah.
I went to me audio.
Yes.
But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But
it was hard to generate like a YouTube video for things like I want to go check out what Mono has new for their pedal boards. But it's like no one wants to talk about pedal boards for longer than 30 seconds. So we were able to do we did like a 12-second spot with them, which worked well. But
it's a board. It holds your pedals.
Their cable management is really good.
Yeah. Pedal boards have really moved into kind of a cool thing, especially with the quote-unquote controversy with like the pedal train cease and desist that we're going out for a little bit. So a lot of the pedal board builders had to change things up. Creation's a prime example of a thing that got changed up.
It got better as a result.
It really did. I own the two different, I guess, models, like their basic models from them, and I moved to, the Elevation series is the
new one, yeah.
The new one's the Elevation series, and that's what I've used right now, and it's phenomenal. It's great, and that's what a lot of people did, was move to a different style, and it was kind of cool to see everyone really have to be innovative.
Yeah.
So 2 things I really liked about Mono's new pedal board, because this is my first time seeing it in the flesh. You don't often get to see pedal boards sitting around like local stores, so it's kind of hard to get hands on. Instead of doing the rails, they have pockets, sort of like they have holes, but they're not round holes; they're oval.
Yeah.
And they have a plug that goes in the oval hole that sits proud on the underside.
Okay.
So you know how like we have solderless cable kits are really readily available for your patch leads, so your signal cable, but
Yeah.
the solderless kits for power aren't really that prevalent yet. There's a few on the market.
I think Third Power.
Three Monkeys.
Three Monkeys. It was a 3.
There's 3 Monkeys out there, but like a lot of people aren't that part of the market hasn't really hit there yet.
Yeah.
And usually when you buy a power supply, it comes with 10 or 20 cables already. So like you already have all them, but you have all that loose cable hanging out underneath, and like you're zip tying it or you're doing all this junk. These have these plugs that you can just sit there and just wrap the excess around. So your bottom of your pedal board is really clean when you pick it up.
Yeah, the whole custom length power cables has a lot of people nervous, myself included, because I can handle audio cables because there's no chance of me messing up or frying a pedal if I do something really wrong. Mm-hmm. A lot of these pedals really have to, a lot of these cables, if they're going to do those, need to prove that they're like idiot proof. Yeah. And my AD is going to kick in really quick. I'm very proud of Scott. He has gotten a little bit more southern on this trip. He is eating potato salad out of the container while we're doing this.
I think you guys underestimate what me being single in my 30s has done to me.
We talked about we need to expand the group and get more help next year. So Scott's got to get married by next summer NAMM to I don't know, we need someone who can do a good bit of editing so we can just put him up in the media room and just be like, edit, go. But,
so, yeah, I need to marry into labor, apparently. That's what would...
Yeah, it's the cheap labor. It's the one that comes...
Don't.
What? I wasn't going like racist or anything, so we're good. Let's see,
So, we all got something... Or all potentially got something new this week, actually, for the first time in a while.
Yeah, so I got some new stuff this week. If anyone, I'm going to probably post it. You might see it on Instagram around the time the episode drops. I'm a big swag guy. Like last year, I just love getting swag. That's my clothes shopping for the year.
Are you going to do a haul video?
I'm going to do a haul picture when I get home. But like we all got swag, but we got some cool stuff. I actually met up with Danny from Me Audio. That's MEE Audio, which that's how you spell it. That's not how you pronounce it, which was funny because I kind of messed that up at first.
Mm-hmm. Their M6 has been around for a while, but it's refreshed now, right?
Yeah, the M6 has changed. They now allow for custom faceplates. And I think the custom faceplates, if I remember correctly, were around the $40 range. I could be wrong. I
remember 15 being in there, but that might have been just for custom artwork.
I think it's $15 more for custom artwork. Yeah. I think it was like $40 for different faceplates. But so they have that. That's really cool. And you can. It's not like you put it on and it's stuck. So their thing is they're really going modular, and budget. So modular and budget.
Yeah, they're really pushing the price point down on a lot of where these features are.
The M6 Pros, which are their single drivers, which about a year and a half ago, they were really popular, especially in the praise and worship group, because they were cheap. People were buying like 15 sets at a time for a whole thing.
They were affordable.
Yeah, affordable. They're not cheap. Yeah,
they were a very affordable one, and they were sort of like right around that price point where you start getting the detachable cable, and you start getting a lot of those features that you really want within your monitors.
Yeah, no,
they were like right there at the front of like where you start. Like if you just pay a little bit more than the budget brand, you really get a lot of good stuff. Yeah,
they're definitely budget and affordable. They're not. I wouldn't say they're cheap. They're not a cheap quality. I had them for quite a while, the M6 Pros, and I actually picked up the M7s, which is their dual driver. They're dual hybrid driver. So it's got an armature driver and what's the other one called, Scott?
Dynamic driver?
And a dynamic driver. It has an armature driver and a dynamic driver. And Danny did a really good job about trying to explain that to me, but he doesn't realize that you have to explain stuff to me like I'm 5, and then bring it down.
And then I have to explain it to you like you're 3.
Like I'm 3. Yeah. So I'm getting a lemonade stand going in the next few weeks.
How much?
Well, it costs about $9 to run, but I'm going to tell people it costs 10.
Okay.
So, if you watch The Office, I hope you got that. If you don't, it makes no sense. So, but they are doing that, and they're doing the custom molds, which are actually modular. And then it's really cool. Those are $150, which is to turn their M7s or M6s into a fitted custom mold is not a horrible price.
That's ridiculously affordable.
I mean, you're looking, if I've got 64 audios, or I've got 1964 ears back when they were that, and you look at the prices of 64 audios, and you're already looking at like $500.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've looked at Shores a number of times because they're local to me, so it's easier to get in there than for some people. It's because they're doing the laser scan thing, which you got laser scanned.
I got laser scanned.
That's on our Instagram, I believe.
That's on our Instagram, yep. There's pictures of that.
That's cutting that cost down a lot. You don't have to go to an audiologist. You don't have to get impressions made. You know, all that good stuff. So pretty cool stuff they got going out. We were really impressed by them.
Yeah.
And you also got something else new this week.
I got the Third Dimension from Chris.
Yeah, have you plugged that in yet?
Yeah, I did plug it in, and I hit all 4 buttons and turned them all on at once, and went chorus crazy. So that was pretty cool. I got that, and I think that's it.
Nice.
Oh. And I got string joy strings, but we already talked about that. So
yeah.
So that's that. Where's anything? Did you get anything cool? Any cool swag or anything that?
I mean, I guess the coolest swag we got was Jack Daniels from Gibson.
Yeah, that did not last long with all of us.
I've still got mine. Don't worry.
Oh.
I've got to go. I've got to go home to my kids, so I'm gonna need that as my emergency stash. I'm gonna hide it. I'm gonna hide it like in the high places throughout the house because I'm the tallest person in the house. I'm just like, I'm gonna have a kid. I've got a kid who just started driving, so I'm gonna need that. But Chris, anything new or potentially new? I know you talked. I think after this, we talked about going over to Carter's.
Oh yeah,
Village.
we're gonna go hit a couple of shops before we get out of town, so that might change.
Yeah, we can put a little like.
We may bring in the Matthews Effects Architect.
Oh yeah, because I brought some I could trade in and potentially get something. So
I wonder if they'll take the Fool. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, sorry, we're getting like.
last time now we're brainstorming. So.
Yeah.
Because last year when we were here, I did a tour of the city. Like I went to a few of the shops.
Yeah, you kind of like left the group a little early.
Yeah, and a lot of the stores around here will have like prototypes sitting on the shelf to sell. Like I remember seeing I think I saw a bear enclosure that was a Love Pedal Eternity, like the original one.
Oh wow.
That's
and
so
stuff
cool.
like that. So yeah, the stores here are really cool because it's not the big box thing. It's small storefronts that just everything in there's cool.
Yeah.
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 And it's kind of interesting for being like a bigger city too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like Chicago where you have like Chicago Music Exchange and you're seeing.
Well, and as cool of a store as that is, it's still a lot of the traditional stuff. They will carry the full like player series of Fender.
Yeah.
And they'll have the affordable stuff too, and it's just like they try to just be a better big box store.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not the. At least I haven't found the little niche stores in Chicago the way they are here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they exist. I just don't know about them. But
Scott, I've got like 4 hours of sleep under my belt last night. Did you say what's new with you yet?
no, I didn't.
Oh well, then why don't you say what's new with you?
Well, I had 2 pedals handed to me by various members of the people we're staying with today.
Yeah.
So Diaz is no longer in possession of his Matthews Effects The Father.
Nope.
I haven't plugged it in yet because I haven't touched a guitar in 3 days, believe it or not.
Yeah, there was we had quite a few people over. Our house was kind of the central well, not the central location, but it was like the place where everyone knew to go. That's where people would be.
You were the party house.
We were the party house, and that everyone. It was like kind of crazy because you never realize after walking through NAMM and then you get to like your Airbnb and everyone wants to play guitar and you're just like shut
Yeah.
Shut up. Yeah.
Please.
Yep.
Which we didn't say. So if you were in the house, we were just thinking it.
Yeah.
I dealt with it in my way yesterday. And,
Mark Swartz.
Huh?
No, I was joking. I was teasing Mark.
Oh, okay. That's like, I have nothing against Mark. All right.
No, I've absolutely nothing against Mark. Mark's a great guy.
Yeah, but like yesterday, after we finished our walk of the floor, I was just like, I need to get away from just being outgoing for a little
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
So we're on our back porch now. I went and sat here by myself and just kind of cranked away at some work. Just to, like, I needed to do something repetitive for a little bit, just to kind of like recenter my mind.
Yeah, see, I was so exhausted. I'm just like yelling at Scott. I'm like, stop working on stuff. Just shut your brain off for like 5 minutes. But you also got some good stuff because you got to do. You on the back porch did a lot of work. You got to do a episode with Clifton Worley on the Clifton Worley Show.
We did.
He stayed with us too. Clifton is an amazing guy.
He is.
He is by far one of the nicest, sweetest people that we got to meet and talk with. So I really want to do a shout out to Clifton for working with us, and he helped us out with some stuff too. And we got to do that. So go check out the Clifton Worley Show and listen to him. And he really is he focuses on stuff that we don't talk about much. He's an acoustic player. He's one of those Telecaster straight into a Fender amp guys, which just isn't really a lot of our style. So he's got a really good point of view about things, a really different point of view, which is awesome.
Yeah, it was great hanging out with him. So the other thing of the people we're staying with, we're also staying with Daniel Shields.
Yeah,
Guitar Engineering. I finally pulled the trigger on a chronograph.
Yeah.
So I got that hand delivered to me.
I've got one.
I love how the first night Daniel was just like, I had to change the time on your phonograph.
Yeah, so I'm one of those people that certain things really bug me, but I can let things go. And so my chronograph on my pedal board was 6 minutes fast. So I'm one of those people that like I just know it's 6 minutes fast.
Do you set clocks fast just because like you're always late, kind of?
No.
Okay.
Listen, I'm almost never late. That's one of my things. So I've got like crazy weird anxiety, and punctuality is one of them. I'm a firm believer if you're early or on time. If you're on time, you're late. My clocks are usually set fast. So that means if my clock says 11 o'clock, it's usually probably about 10 minutes fast, but I still get places early. So most places I usually get about 15 minutes early. It also helps me like plan my brain out for what's about to happen.
Yep.
But that's pretty cool. I think right now we're going to kind of talk about what we saw that really stuck out with us and what we thought was really cool. So
I think let's start with the big guy, who we've been asking for this and we've been talking about it, and we're saying, we keep saying, what does Gibson have to do to finally get our attention, or
they got
get
my
us looking
attention.
Yep.
And I think they got Chris's attention.
Yeah.
So Chris, what did you see?
They're bringing back the double cut Les Paul Jr. They didn't say much on price, right?
No, they were one of their things was because it's the 2019 line.
Right.
They didn't put any prices out.
But they said it was going to be less than $1,000, though.
I think they
Y'all talked to
said
them more than I did about that.
I think they said it's affordable.
We got cryptic messages saying that they're not expecting prices to go up.
So I'm hoping that
much,
doesn't mean that's going to be
go down much. Like it's. Like,
I want to point out this is completely us speculating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It was them speculating too. They don't.
Well-
they legitimately don't know their price point yet.
So if you, we're going to be putting out a video where we got a tour of their floor on their NAMM floor booth with Aljon, and one of the things we talked about beforehand was whenever you interview someone, you kind of want to, and either they're dealing with some sort of controversy or they're dealing with a bounce back from something, which Gibson is dealing with a bounce back from some decisions that were made previously in the company, the bankruptcy issue, and they're not ignorant of it. They are completely aware. They were literally handing out hats that say, "I support the new Gibson."
They were literally handing out T-shirts to anybody who would come up to them on Saturday morning.
So Saturday, you're walking around the NAMM floor, and like I would say a good 30% of the people had a Gibson shirt on.
Yep.
Which was, I mean, that is.
I was also just amazed by how many people walk into a convention, get handed a free T-shirt, and immediately throw it on.
Well, that was part of the giveaway. So part of the giveaway, they were doing a giveaway,
Yeah.
and part of it was you had to be wearing the shirt when they released the
Yep.
location. So you could see there was a lot of people who wanted in on that, and someone's mowing their lawn right now.
Which we should have done. Like we should have gotten in on that since we ended up staying.
We really should have mowed our
yesterday.
lawns before
Yeah.
we left for NAMM. No, but the Gibson giveaway actually was.
What's a lawn?
Oh yeah, you're from Chicago. It's that little patch of grass that like 2 foot by 2 foot that you might have.
I have to walk like 4 blocks before I see grass.
That little 2 foot, that little 2 foot by 2 foot part where the dogs poop and you have to pick it up.
My neighbor's garden? Yeah.
But yeah, so Gibson did a really good job of trying to. They're doing spin control right now.
Yeah.
They're really in spin mode, and they did an excellent job of that. But back to the price point on the Gibson, the Double Cut Junior. We're kind of speculating. I would say it's probably gonna be around 900. And what
I would hope
think.
so because the current junior that's out is 1,700, I think, which is way too much in my opinion.
That's a gloss finish, right?
But
Yeah.
that's a gloss finish. This was a satin finish.
Yeah.
And we actually know more about what goes into gloss and satin finishes. I think we can. We'll talk about it a little bit later. We got to go on a Gibson tour, which was really interesting. We were all really excited about that, and we'll talk about that later because we're going to spend some time on that.
To really wrap up that whole conversation, Gibson was very generous this
Yes.
weekend. That's the word I would use. They were generous with their time. They were generous to everybody who wanted to come and see stuff. Their tours are not a normal thing at Gibson.
No, and their transparency was amazing as well.
Yeah.
So with it, Gibson really. My two main guitars are Gibsons, but you know, Gibson really made it where we all became fans of what they're doing right now.
Oh.
Yeah.
So my other favorite thing from the show that's like really sticking with me, really staying there, is what going over to Old Blood Noise Endeavors. They reached out to us really early on. We're very welcoming.
Yeah.
And they released the Dweller.
That's the one that I'm super excited about. So the Dweller is a phaser delay, and it's the cool thing about Old Blood is they make pedals that can do kind of the. Sorry, someone was taking a picture and I got distracted. You don't do it while I'm talking. You guys know I can't pay attention. But it's a phaser delay, and their pedals are very much, they can do the normal, what you expect, but they do the crazy and weird, it's amazing. Like, it's one of those sounds where you listen to it and you're like, I never thought I needed this. Mm-hmm. I need this in my life right now. Scott was
Also
listening.
getting hands on the Alpha Haunt.
So we talked about the Alpha Haunt, and that was phenomenal.
Sounds so good.
Like I called it. I really did. With it's the fuzz for people who like fuzzes and they want to tweak stuff. So they've got me. I got really excited because it's got slider knobs.
Yeah.
And I love sliders. Like, it's just, I don't know what it is. I think it's kind of one of those. You think back of like the old school 60s, 70s stuff, and those little sliders and stuff like that, and that's a lot of fun. But they got the Dweller and the.
You also got to try the Flatlight for the first time, right?
The Flatlight was pretty cool. That's the flanger delay.
Yeah.
And that got really weird really quick, and it was really interesting. They're killing it with the quality, the sound quality of the pedal. So when you look at modulation pedals. When you get like in the phaser and flanger and stuff like that, you don't hear a lot of people talk about the like sound quality that's coming out of it. Right. You just kind of you're talking, most people think of the extremes, how normal and how high, but the actual quality of the effects sound, Old Blood did a really good job. And it was actually pretty cool because we mentioned who we were, and you know, we know that we're still a newer, younger podcast, but they had actually listened to at least one episode.
Yeah, we had a couple people actually who talked to us. Like, I didn't realize our audience included as many industry people. I thought it was really just like, hey, it's our Facebook friends, you know. Yeah. That was kind of our core audience. And so, Old Blood Noise Endeavors guys, if you're listening in the shop, you guys are doing great work, and we we can't wait to see what you come out with next.
Yeah, we love you guys.
As well as like we ran into the Mario Guitars folks who we met last year.
Yeah, we met them through Mark Sports actually.
Yeah, so if you guys are listening, what's up?
Yeah, so but Old Blood it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Isaac was the main guy who was our contact there. It's just who we ran into, and he was a great host.
And he was just super welcoming, and like I've met Seth a number of times from there too. And
yeah, because
awesome.
you met up with them at CME whenever you talked about going over there.
Yeah, and then like we were eating lunch, and I was walking out, and we ran into them again. So I finally got to meet Brady too.
Okay.
So everyone there is just super nice.
Yeah, I don't like meeting a whole lot of new people. So Isaac, like usually with companies, I find like the one guy that I want to like contact with. I'm like, oh yeah, he's really cool. That's like Me Audio. Danny, I think is going to be the guy I really want to stay in contact with because we just kind of clicked. We got to talk about old school drummers like Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich, stuff like that, and that was a kind of an odd. I'm not a drummer at all, but my brother is, and I was raised listening to a lot of those older guys. Yeah. So
I noticed that the knowing people thing really kind of did affect some of the booths that I wound up going to. Like,
oh yeah.
Whereas like, I still really want to try the production model of the Thermae. I've only tried a pre-production model, and I understand they tweak some stuff with Chase Bliss.
Yeah.
But Chase Bliss always had kind of a lineup, and I was never able to kind of. I think it was Tyler from Chase Bliss was there this year, and I haven't really interacted with him that much. Versus like Zach, we'll see each other from across the room, and we'll go over and talk to each other.
Yeah, so the only person I've interacted with Chase Bliss is Joel actually, but that was my first NAMM a couple years ago, and that was really cool because I went on Public Day. I got the adventure of that, and actually Chase Bliss, they had their own standalone booth then, and it was kind of calm over there, and I went and I like hid out. So and Joel was really cool. He's a personable guy.
He's a sweetheart.
He's a sweetheart. I think that's, you usually kind of leverage towards the guys who are really like Grant Wilson is a prime example. if you
but we went and saw him multiple times because like we just wanted to see him.
Grant and Karen, they're the owners of Big Ear, and they are two of the nicest people. Grant or Karen, if you listen to this, sorry we didn't make it to the party last night. We actually had quite a bit of work to do. We recorded the Lambertone demo.
Did we?
We did.
Did we really?
We did. It actually happened.
Done.
It's weird. Like I feel like I might have played on that.
Scott actually played on that too. We got to do that, and that was.
You ready to hear some John Mayer licks?
That's right. I don't think you played John Mayer licks that much.
I played only John Mayer licks.
Well,
I played old John Mayer licks, so you didn't think they were John Mayer licks.
I didn't even recognize that one because I was listening.
We kind of Sucker and Man on the Side.
I don't know those ones.
First album.
Oh my god.
They're acoustic songs, so like.
What was the first album? Was that Room for Squares?
No. Inside What's Out.
Oh, the Inside What's Out. That's right. Okay, we're on John Mayer. Let's get off John Mayer.
So I guess the last thing to kind of wrap up this talk, because we're all like visibly sweating in Nashville heat right now. What was the weirdest thing you saw at NAMM? Because that's half the fun of this.
Oh, the weirdest thing. Okay, it was not the weirdest, but it is an odd effect that I got totally sucked into, and I've got to buy one. Is I can't remember the name of it. It's by Yellow Cake Pedals. It's the.
You'll get to watch the demo we did. We did a booth demo with them.
Yeah.
I may have gotten hurt in the process of making that one. So.
Did you really get hurt?
Well, he came charging at me. So.
Oh yeah, well, I mean that's more of an assault.
Yeah. So maybe a settlement, we might get a pedal or two out of them. So.
That could be it.
Yeah.
It was the Lida machine or Lida machine. I'll have to listen to the way he pronounces it. It's a crazy pedal. It's dual LFO. It reminds me of like an envelope phaser, but he really goes into more about what it is. I'm gonna have to do a lot of research on it, but he had a great lineup of pedals.
He did.
They sounded great. He was
just running like a Hot Rod Deluxe at his booth too, so it was the pedals doing a lot of work.
They had the MK Ultra, which is a kind of like has a kind of a cocked wah feel, kind of, and like a little bit of a ring modulator in it, and then the Your Mom, which is it's a fuzz pedal, and one of the things about fuzz pedals that I absolutely love is when they have a bias control on them. And he had an LED knob, so it lights up an LED, and it's a bias control for that.
Oh, he's using LED for clipping?
Yeah.
Nice.
So, and that was one of my favorite weird things. What was the Lida machine, and I'm gonna be purchasing one in the near future for sure.
Nice. Marissa, what was the craziest thing you saw on the floor that wasn't a person?
It's not really like crazy, but it was interesting. That one effect thing where you can change out the effects.
Oh, modal effects.
Yeah.
Modal, yeah. We've got a video up that on our like a quick little video up on our Instagram, and I think Scott is really working on trying to get something into review from them.
Well, yeah, I was chatting with them. They should be up in Chicago soon, so we're gonna try.
Oh, okay. There you
We'll
go.
see something.
It's nice when they travel to you. They're coming to see
I
Scott.
live in the third biggest city in the country, so I get really spoiled by people just happen to be going by.
Yeah.
They're not coming to see me.
We really should
They
have.
should.
We really should have recorded our conversation about like trying to figure out the stereotypes of the regions that we live in.
Oh,
yeah.
that
That
was
would've been
fun.
great. Third biggest city in the country. No one's got a gun. Like that's,
No, there's a lot of guns.
yeah, but they're all from Indiana. I was actually highly informed last night. I got a little bit woke about the gun situation in Chicago.
None of it's in my neighborhood. Yeah. Let's not.
Okay, sorry, we're
not.
we're not going.
I love
Not a
Chicago. I
geography
live in a
podcast.
very safe neighborhood. Come visit. It's totally fine.
Chicago's great. No, but I'm gonna like make sure it was known. That was we were talking about like Southerners' view of Chicago.
Yeah, because I'm the only non-Southerner out of our group. I mean, Marissa's a transplant.
I am.
Where'd you come from?
San Diego.
Oh gosh.
So,
So everyone there's like Danny Tanner and all that. So you got that going on.
they lived in San Francisco.
What is this? A geography podcast?
Look, it's all California.
It's all
all the
California.
Now we're talking about places in California. That's the worst part about it too.
You got to jump on the
Yeah.
4 and then hop over to the 70.
So, modal effects.
Yeah.
What's really that was really cool. How it's magnetic. There's no
Yeah.
like special. They're using almost like the MagSafe connector from a MacBook. And so, like our video, we just picked up a filter and dropped in a fuzz module,
Yeah.
hot
Yeah.
swap, like between chords.
Yeah.
So,
That's
I'm
gonna
curious
be-
how this is gonna be.
Yeah. For sure.
Chris, what's your weirdest thing of NAMM?
Possibly that folding travel guitar.
Yeah. Oh, it starts with a C.
I don't know, but it's once again. All right, so we went really heavy on the Instagram at NAMM.
Yeah.
I'm going to
There's
post
a-
a link to this in our main group.
We did a boomerang of it. He broke that guitar down in under 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I fell in love with 2 travel guitars this week.
Yeah, the Oz Guitar Works.
Yeah.
That one was pretty cool. That was it's a travel guitar and it's modular as well.
Yeah, the
in a
body's an
sense.
aluminum frame, and
Yeah.
the center portion can like drop out without removing the strings.
Yeah.
So all the electronics can just come in and out in a module.
Yeah, and it actually I played it through a headphone amp. It was the Micro Terror.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this before.
Get good pickups on it.
Yeah, it had good pickups, sounded really good, and but the travel guitar that they're talking about, actually the neck folded, so like the truss rod.
And 3 hinges.
Yeah, there's 3 hinges. The truss rod, so the truss rod comes down out of the neck.
It's a 2-piece truss
Yeah.
rod.
2-piece truss rod. It comes down out of the neck and then it folds, and it.
Yeah, there's a lever mechanism in the back of the body that locks into place. And so when you pull the lever, it unlocks the hinges. At the same time, it gives you about another inch or 2 of slack in the strings.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of catches in the process of it going.
Yeah.
So the strings never go all cattywampus on you.
Yeah, and they did a really good display of that. Now they're not out yet, so
Yeah,
they're
and we
priced.
don't know pricing yet.
Well, they
They
did.
gave us ballpark, but I wouldn't.
I mean, it's like two to
expensive.
it's like 2 to 3.
Yeah, you're not replacing like a Fender Player
No.
Series with this. This
But-
is if like you're someone like me who's on the road a lot, I only travel a day typically at a time, but if a number of my friends do the like Sunday through Thursday on the road all the time,
Yeah.
it's a guitar for people like that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
If it wasn't like super up there, I would say it'd be good for you to bring to work and keep in your locker since
Yeah.
you're wanting a guitar.
Yeah, but it's
Just move
definitely
on.
they're definitely shooting for the higher end on price point for this when it comes to guitars out there. So, but the quality of it looked pretty good.
Yeah.
I didn't actually play it, so I couldn't tell you how it felt.
It felt good, which was really surprising. There's a hinge in the middle, sort of in the middle of the neck, around like the 14th fret.
Yeah.
And my thumb didn't get caught on.
Yeah,
it.
didn't they like match it pretty well with
Yeah.
the neck?
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. Was there anything else that anyone saw that was kind of crazy awesome?
Do you guys see the hand bow for violins? So instead of your traditional bow is, I don't know, 18 inches or so, like
Yeah.
it's a lengthy bow. This thing's about 6, and you put it on your ring finger for your right hand, and you can kind of just strum like that and get bow effects out of it. It's pretty.
cool.
It's very affordable. I have their card. You and I were talking about trying to get, maybe getting one and trying to play guitar with it.
Yeah, we did some cashmere.
Yeah.
Some what was it? Radiohead, the guy from there, the Johnny Marr or
Johnny Greenwood.
Johnny Greenwood. Who's Johnny Marr with?
Really?
Yeah.
Smiths.
Oh, that's the vegan guys, right?
That's Morrissey. Yeah.
Yeah, no, screw them. But
There was a new Johnny Marr signature at the Fender booth.
yeah, that's why I've got Johnny Marr in my head. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not a fan of them. But that's
That
personal
guitar
choice.
is amazing, though. Have you played one of those?
No. It's a like what? It's a.
It's a Jaguar, but it has bare knuckle pickups in it.
Yeah. See, I'm not a big fan of the Jaguar and Mustang.
The short scale, or what?
Just something about it. I don't know why. But it's usually like the Mustang or the Mustangs have their pickups for the most part, and it's one of those things where I have nothing against the way it looks, and I have nothing against anyone who plays one. It's never sat right with me in the way I play. So, but that's all that. That's a different topic. All that. But I think we could probably move on to talking about what we kind of do. Our main topic is the Gibson factory.
Yeah. So Diaz, you articulated what I said too. It was funny because I don't think we actually talked about this yet. Was
Yeah.
how much is still very traditionally done there
Yes.
at such an amazing scale? Because my biggest question when I was there when we wrapped up was, how many guitars did I just see?
He said right around 2,000.
I think it was higher than that even.
Well, I think he was being very conservative on his guess. So we really didn't. We did some pictures, and we'll release those. We didn't do a whole lot of video. We signed a good non-disclosure agreement when we went in there.
Yes, we gotta be
And
picky about our pictures.
We're gonna be picky. Yeah, we're gonna be picky about the stuff because they were working on things that we saw that have been hinted at and rumored towards.
Yeah, we saw some stuff that we're not allowed to talk about, but we're very excited about.
Yeah,
So
as soon
we're looking
as
forward to
it,
that.
Yeah.
as soon as it gets released, I think we'll be able to release those pictures of
Yeah.
it in the factory, and that'll
Did you
be
get a shot of it?
I got
yeah,
one of each model or the two colors that we saw of it.
yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, so you guys get to hear that little cryptic discussion. But all right, so the cool thing is you walk in, and first thing we had to do was put on eye protection because
It's dusty.
it's dusty, and there's when you walk into a Guitar Center, and this is what I try to explain to a lot of people. You walk into a Guitar Center, you see 40 Les Pauls hanging on the wall. You sit there and you think to yourself, you're like, this stuff is cookie cutter CNC together. And that's not the way it works. Some of this stuff kind of has that where it's easier to put together. We didn't get to see what the mill.
Oh yeah, but all
Well,
that was just rough.
that was rough
though.
cuts.
Yeah, so
So
they have a CNC there. It
Yeah.
rough cuts everything, but like they even showed us what it comes like out of a rough cutter.
And
it's wavy.
It's
when they-
wavy. Yeah, it's got a kind of an alligator feel.
Yeah.
So the BFG guitar, which apparently the story was that the Billy F. Gibbons from ZZ Top came through and really liked it, and they wanted to do it as a Billy F. Gibbons guitar, and he was like, no, I really don't want to. And they're like, okay, cool. So they named it the BFG still, which it stands for barely finished guitar. it has that kind of alligator bumpy feel. So pretty much what comes out of the mill is a very rough shape. And then it goes to finishing binding. The binding process is really cool. A lot of places with binding, some of it's painted on. It's a painted on binding. But they still do an old school, the way they install it is with a wrap. There's a gentleman there, we watched him while we had spent about 5 minutes at that station. We watched him do, I think it was about 3 guitars, 2 or 3. I think he finished 2 and was on his 3rd one when we left. Of installing the binding, the material that the binding's made out of, they actually like grind it down and they add acetone and other things. So the binding is actually put together pretty much with itself.
Yeah.
And it goes on there and they wrap it with a cloth that's somewhat flexible. And they've actually perfected this wrap down. Every single guitar that was hanging there was probably, I'd say, close to about 50 to 75 guitars hanging right there.
Yeah.
And they were all wrapped the exact same way. There's the same pattern, and it was really cool because you think, well, it's these people just come in and they start doing this. No, they told us about a lot of these positions. The guy doing the binding was months of training to learn how to do it right, and then we got to see a bunch of different stuff. The necks. One of the coolest things in that was in the necks underneath the fingerboard. There's an RFID. Is that?
Yeah. So one of the things I'll say about Gibson is it was interesting watching how some things have not changed in 50 years, and then there are areas where modernization really took hold. So like
some of the desks
management.
sitting there looked like they had been there for 50 years.
Yeah.
Like
they had a piece of equipment from Kalamazoo that they're like, we can't build this, we can't make this, and this is like when this thing goes down, there'll be no more of this.
Yeah.
Like it was like that kind of level of what they're talking about, but yeah, they have their management system from a inventory tracking. That everyone is tracking stuff on computers, and so on the backside of the neck, since it's the fingerboard onto the neck, there's just a hint of a pocket route.
Yep.
On the back of it.
Yeah.
And an RFID tag slides in there.
Yep.
And so they're able to identify parts and they're tracking it through the system. But then that also gives them that anti-theft that can never be messed with from a counterfeiting protection.
Yeah, so they did talk about if you were concerned enough, you could send in that guitar and you could have the RFID scanned and they could tell you. If it doesn't, he said if it doesn't scan, it's not a Gibson.
Yep.
Starting at a certain year. So, I mean, it's not like you could send in a 58 and they'd tell you.
Right.
I mean, they could tell you, but they wouldn't know on that. But it helps track the guitar from pretty much almost start to finish. From the time it gets in there, you've got these parts that are made for each other and that they put together that they piece, and you can keep track all the way down to from the end where they actually take a picture of the guitar. We actually rushed back to when we came back to the house. This is one of the first things I did. They take a picture of the guitar when it's finished and they put it in the case. The final guys who do the inspections, and those final inspectors have been there for a lot of years. I think the lowest guy that was there that day had been with Gibson for 10 years.
I think so.
Yeah, so I ran into him on Saturday.
Oh, really? So they went and they do the final inspection and all that, and they check stuff off, but they are tearing through guitars. So I one of the things is when we talk about the quality control issues, going to that really put a lot of things in perspective. They said at that plant about 400 guitars a day go out, 400, and there was about 4 people doing final inspections.
So they're each looking at about 100 a day.
Looking about 100 guitars a day, and even while we were there was people bringing stuff over there, like asking them to check it out. So they've really implemented and are sticking with a more detailed quality control because they are really doing every step has the chance to send it back to the previous step.
Yeah, and we saw a number of them rejected.
Yeah, there was a big there's a big rack of rejected guitars that had problems with them, and we especially right around the painting section.
Yeah, they were talking about basically it's like humidity, sometimes in the buffing stages, something that's been laying in the wood for a while can come out
Can
because
bubble
of
up.
heat. Yeah, and there's no way to see it coming. I mean, there's some of those kind of things that they
Yeah,
talk
and
about.
and you know, and it was really cool because it's not like they're making excuses for mistakes, but they're explaining. I mean,
They're dealing with an imperfect material
Yeah.
to start, and so just stuff comes up, and that's part of the reason why it's such a human manufacturing process. I think
Yeah,
is part of what they deal with.
they really, and it was cool. You got to see these people working. Another really cool section was a thing I didn't know. So the binding, they actually paint over that.
Yeah.
I had no clue about that. And they have people who are trained. They said that they train these people 6 to 8 months on rejected guitars before they're allowed to actually remove the paint from the binding. They use small
It's razor blade.
razor blades. So they actually have ones with different designs. We were there. We got to see an Explorer that had it was black, and they said black's one of the hardest ones to do binding on because you have no clue really where it's at under there. And it actually was doing where it was almost like a double pinstripe binding, and that was really cool to see.
I've tried that. I watched the StuMac video on how to do it like 30 times, and then I tried doing it when I made a guitar in my apartment.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Well,
It is really hard to do.
they did say this was a Gibson thing. He said, a lot those positions are mostly filled out by females because they have attention to detail.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they have
It's a heavily female workforce there.
yeah, that was a really cool thing too. I think I saw more females than I did males working there. And that was really neat to see. I mean, and I think that also comes back to way early in American industrial history, right around World War II.
Yep.
Whenever the men were off at war, a lot of the women worked these factory jobs, and that was a good way for that industry, any industrial industry that's running lines and stuff like that, realize that females in general are more attention detailed.
You'll see tasks that tend to, one group of people or another will just have a better.
Inclination to.
Yeah.
I think that's the
And
best way to say it. It's a good inclination
So
to.
I've seen the other major brand in America and their amp factory talk about they're like, this area is entirely this because, females are just so much better at it.
A lot of the soldering was done.
Yeah.
A lot of females do really a great job on soldering.
The detail work.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff was a lot of the detail work, but the
Yeah.
buffers were about 50-50.
Yeah.
And they talked about that was one of the things the tour guide talked about was just how much force those people are dealing with all day.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah,
You have to be ripped. Everyone
well, his
who's
joke was you have to be buff to be a buffer.
yeah, you have to be buff to be a buffer.
Yeah.
A lot of those people in there are just going at it, and to see how fast they're moving.
They hustle.
I was exhausted. I was thinking to myself, I was like, I don't know if I could work here. I really am not sure if I could work there.
I couldn't.
And do that all day. It's and it really gives you a thankfulness. I was when I saw all that, I was very thankful for my Gibson Firebird, and because that guitar came pretty much in tune out of the box. I didn't set it up. Everyone who's played it this weekend or this week at NAMM has been like, this plays great. I haven't done anything besides put new strings on it.
Yeah. There were two other things I think I want to kind of really get in there before I forget about them. One was a misconception I had was broken, which was I always thought they're like, all right, today is Les Paul Day,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we're gonna paint all the Honeyburst Les Pauls today.
No.
And literally the painting guy would bring in 5 guitars at a time, and they'd all have different colors, and he'd spray them out on demand. I was really amazed by that.
That was my favorite part of the tour.
Yeah.
Because number one, I've got when I think about painting guitars, you've got all these things that you got to worry about. You got to worry about drip. You got to worry about the right environment and all this. And it was really neat to see this guy. He was painting in the booth. Behind him, he had about it's probably 15, 16 different nozzles.
Okay.
So he could swap to any color at any point. And I think it was Scott, you were the one who really brought it up. It was weird because he wasn't wearing a mask. they really are.
And they're spraying nitro. They
Yeah,
have that safe of a booth that
of a booth.
they don't have to wear face
Every
protection.
station had a hose that was running into the
Forced air system.
Yep, and they're like the solder area was pulling the solder smoke up, and it was pretty cool. They're definitely taking care of their employees. A lot of their employees seem like they've been there quite a long time, and you know, it was really neat because those employees that were working didn't put on like the smiley face working for us. They just
Testing guy did. The testing guy was
yeah.
about to play a lick, and he looks at me and just smirks, and then he just rips something down the guitar.
Well, but a lot of the people just kept working, and you just saw them go.
Yeah.
And then I think the one last cool part that I'll mention is the pickup section was very interesting to me.
So that was my other last one, was they make their wire in-house.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
one machine that would go down and like they can't find a new one is
Yeah.
what does the metal braid on the Gavit cable.
Yeah. So they talked about whenever they do pickups that are the more classic style that you're expecting to see that braid, they've got the machine in there that does that in-house. Someone asked me, no, the pickups aren't hand wired as much as they put out, but
No pickups really hand wired.
Well,
Yeah.
you know how
There's hand guided
Yeah.
on a spindle, and then there's computer guided.
yeah
on a spindle.
they use computer guided, and
It's still the same winding machine from Kalamazoo, though.
a neat thing that we got to see or we got to experience was we had a gentleman with us who worked for Seymour Duncan.
Yes.
He was the OEM
OEM sales rep.
OEM sales rep. So he already had
What's up, Blue, if you're listening?
Yeah, Blue, if you happen to listen to this. So he was really cool because Scott was talking to him after the tour was done, and I was eavesdropping, and he was talking about the Dirty Fingers.
Yeah.
So tell me, why don't you tell him about what
Well,
he said about the Dirty Fingers?
He I won't name what he said is their equivalent of the Dirty Fingers.
Yeah.
He's like, we just can't get it to what they do.
He said
we're
that-
using same materials, same everything down to the spec, and he's like, there's something they do here that makes it sound different, and he loves the way theirs works.
Yeah, and they were and you got to see just this really cool relationship with them too. Was the Seymour Duncan guys? I think there's two people from Seymour Duncan.
Yep.
They're in there, and Gibson, the guy from Gibson to give them the tour, was like, you know, we have a relationship with them. If we do a custom guitar, or we do an artist series, and that artist uses Seymour Duncan, he said, why would we put in anything else besides that? Slash is a prime example.
Yep.
Slash has Seymour Duncan pickups that have his name on them, so he's going to put they're going to put those Seymour Duncan Slash pickups in there.
Yep.
So it was really eye-opening to see how much Gibson, even though you think that they aren't paying attention and they're not caring about the products, they really look like they're putting forth a good effort.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've said this on past episodes. I want them to work.
Yeah.
I don't want to live in a world where we don't have the Gibson Les Paul anymore.
Gibson,
Yeah.
and when talking to people at the booth, you can tell they're really trying to put it out there that we know we screwed up. We're fixing it.
Yep.
That was it. That if there was like a blanket statement for what we saw with Gibson, we know we screwed up. We're fixing it.
Yes.
And
That was it.
You can definitely tell there's effort being put in.
Yeah.
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 And
I
wh-
agree.
And then I'm gonna say like one of the last like nifty things, the fact that in the Gibson factory there's guitars constantly floating above your head on a it's not a conveyor belt, it's a hanging.
They store above you.
They store above you, and there's nets all over so that if a guitar falls, it doesn't hit you in the head. But we did get told a crazy story about how apparently someone had their hair up
And got caught in
and
it.
got caught in that. But Instagram, stuff like that, we're gonna like load up some pictures. We actually had a boomerang on there, and I actually saved it on our profile. So if you go to our profile on Instagram and look, you can see that boomerang of those guitars floating around. But to see that many guitars just floating around was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna wrap it up here. We got to do a lot, and I'm sure over the next few episodes we'll remember things and kind of bring it up. But
I think we're going to be seeing a lot of the press releases from the stuff we saw.
Yeah.
And like the next couple of weeks is going to be us kind of regurgitating some of these things too. So what's really fun is now we're going to be able to say like, yeah, I got to try this, or I got to see it too.
Yeah.
yeah, that'll be a lot of cool things coming out, and where you get to actually have an opinion on, because we got to put our hands on a lot of stuff. So we also, I don't know.
So we've got a Fender video coming. We got an Old Blood Noise Endeavors video coming. We got Yellow Cake video coming.
We
We've
got
got Gibson coming. We've got the Stringjoy booth had a bunch of different manufacturers, which included an Equitz.
Yeah, and I got to play a fun riff.
Yeah. That should be our first one out, so hopefully by the time this airs, that's already up and posted.
Yeah, why don't we do if you can, we're gonna post that, and if you can post and let us know what the riff is I played first thing, we'll send you a Gibson shirt. So we'll get that out to you. So you got to listen all the way through this episode and actually get to this, and we'll send you a Gibson shirt. We've only got one size. So
yeah, but we've got hopefully we got a couple giveaways coming up here too. Just like we kind of at first we were like, oh, look at all this swag we could pick up, and all of us just went, let's give this away.
Yeah, let's give. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that we want to give away, and get out to people. And kind of as a thank you for listening, because we really, this whole trip was a big eye opener of how much we really appreciate everyone who listens. Will LaHue, dude, that he got a hat, wasn't it?
Yeah, I gave him my Gibson hat.
Gave him the Gibson hat for listening and being a big supporter. And it was awesome to meet people who actually listen to the show. And, you know, we got to hang out with other podcasters and bounce ideas off and work together. I think this was really our kind of join into the community. Yep. And kind of doing our own little community thing. So
we walked in with momentum.
Yeah, it was great. So post that. Let us know what riff I played, and we'll get you a Gibson shirt sent out. And look out for other giveaways. We've got some stuff in the works. I'm not going to say anything until it's up there.
Watch our Instagram.
Yeah, we'll
announce them.
We're really hitting heavy on Instagram. We're trying to fill in that space. So
where can you find us on Instagram, Diaz?
You can. Oh, that's right. You can find us at Instagram at the Effects Loop. You can find us on Facebook, the Effects Loop Facebook groups. So that's facebook.com/groups/the Effects Loop. Go in there, join our little community, and
also, while you're online, go check out Stringjoy.
Yep. Yeah, check out our sponsor, Stringjoy. Great guys, awesome guys. So, and they've got great. We actually put strings on the Equitz. Fuzz Rayburn.
Yep.
So shout out to Kevin Equitz.
Kevin and Heather.
We love
favorite
you.
people from NAMM.
We love you. So Kevin was really gracious with letting us be able to mess with the Fuzz Rayburn. He came to the house and let us mess around with that.
Yeah, we just posted this morning an interview with him that I did on the floor.
That's right.
So.
Yeah. If you guys have a chance to check out what Kevin does, Equitz Guitars, and follow him.
Oh, yeah, that's on our What's New too. Chris and I both just committed to getting Equitz Psy guitars.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking about waiting on that list for just as long as we are for the King of Tone.
Yeah. So, but yeah, check them out. Check us out. Check out Stringjoy. Check them out on Instagram everywhere, and just look for things to come. We've got a lot in the works that we're really excited about. So for the Effects Loop, I'm Diaz.
I'm Marissa.
I'm Chris.
I'm Scott.
All right, and we'll see you next time, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to the Bird Noise Podcast. We're rolling.
Hottest name out here.
All right, everybody. 3, 2, 1. All right.
Continuity, guys.
Wow, I think that was the first time everyone was actually at the same time.